And we're live.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Blades and Blasters. This is a new campaign. This is called Knight's Frontier. It's a Dragonlance game, which is one of the older D&D settings. My name is Wanderer and I'm going to be your GM for this campaign. And we're going to have 6 players for this game, but this first game is just going to involve 3 of them. We're going to split the intro sessions just so we get to spend a little bit more time getting to know each character. So with me tonight I have Bo, I have Walter Peck, and Zypher. And we're going to introduce, rather than just getting to introduce their characters now, we're going to have little scenes for you to get to know those characters. So let's get started. Okay, can everyone see that handout?
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Yep.
The year in Kryn is 581 AC, over 200 years after the War of the Lance. And although some lands, such as the fertile plains of Istar and the conquered elven homeland of Sylvanesti, are ravaged by war, much of the continent of Ansalon lives in relative peace. The west of the continent, or at least that part of it that lies north of New Sea, is dominated by the Kingdom of Solamnia, whose orders of knights are dedicated to the gods of light. The east is divided between tribes of ogres, hobgoblin warlords, ruthless minotaur legions, and, most dangerous of all, knights of Naraka, as dedicated to the gods of darkness as the knights of Solamnia are to the pantheon of light. Between these lands lies the cursed realm of Nightland, formerly the domain of the legendary Death Knight Lord Soth. This once fertile province of Solamnia now stands without a ruler. But though the black clouds that once shrouded it in perpetual night are long gone, the land still bears a dark reputation. Haunted by undead, dominated by dense forest, and rumoured to be tainted by dark magic, few have chosen to try to make a home there. But now, as safer cities become crowded, and fertile land grows scarce, some are willing to risk everything to start a new life in this ill-favoured realm. As settlers arrive, others do too, whether to protect them, prey on them, or simply sell them goods. Their fates are even less certain than those of the farmers. And it is to such a group that we now turn. So we're going to start off in the port city of Kalaman. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we see a crowded, bustling port, and a very cosmopolitan one. There are people of all races, of all nationalities here. This port is bustling and lively and just full of the most diverse crowd you can imagine. There is shouting, bustling, goods being moved here and there, people getting in arguments, crates getting overturned, but overall a lot's getting done. And into the midst of this, we see Aish walk. He walks down the gangplank of a ship and into this port. So X, would you like to describe what Aish looks like and what it's like as he enters this scene, which to him is very alien?
As Ash walks down the gangplank, the bustle around him is loud. People are screaming and shouting at each other. The long horsemen and longshoremen are busy, moving goods around. But like a cool breeze on a warm summer afternoon, everybody stops and looks up at this figure walking down the gangplank. It's not what they see, but what they feel. And that's what X is all about. It's the feeling he invokes in people. It's the magnificence that seems to permeate from him and through the crowd. Everybody gasps, for it is a sight to see Ash. He's not a tall man or a broad man, but rather slender and of medium build. He is wearing colorful clothing, light and floral. He has a skip to his step. He has been dreaming of seeing lands like this since childhood. The isles he grew up on, well, they were small. They were not large enough for the personality that is Aish. The Dragon Isles, he was from there. But not really the Dragon Isles, just smaller islands around the Dragon Isles. Eventually he had bedded every maiden, and then once he was old enough he had bedded every maid. And soon there were men and boyfriends after him, husbands, lovers, jealous after his blood, seeking retribution. And it was time for Aish to leave his homeland. He used to spend his time on the docks of his hometown, listening to the stories of sailors. He caught a few songs, and then from there he decided that that's what he would want to do. Make more songs, songs of exquisite women, songs of conquest, songs of tragedy, songs of victory, songs of unending hoards of gold, jewels, riches. Aish is all about the experience, and as he's walking down the gangplank and he reaches the port, he looks around. People kind of get back to what they're doing, feeling lighter. The shouting has reduced a bit. Everybody feels to have a lightness about them. It's the effect Aish has. Beauty is not just a visual sensation. It actually affects all the senses, is what Aish believes. He looks around and tries to see where the closest tavern is, and he starts walking towards it.
Okay. And as he walks away from the dock, he sees a bit more of the city proper. It's an even more bustling place than the docks. There are plenty of scenes, plenty of areas where you can buy goods from far off lands. Lots of stalls set up in the streets because there isn't room for all the shops they want or need. But also some scenes of a less sort of pleasant nature. Crime is obviously rife here and is dealt with summarily. People barely even notice, they just move on. And Aish takes all this in as he walks the streets. And eventually he does find an inn, or rather a tavern. It's a tavern called the Drunken Minotaur.
How dare you?
And he enters. And as he does so, he looks back on the street, and he's used to catching admiring glances from many women, and in some cases men. But in this case, he can see that a woman is holding his eye a little longer. And as he looks at her, he notices she holds his gaze for just a second and then looks away blushing. And then looks back.
Aish sees it, but behaves like he's not seen it. He's about to enter the tavern, and then he quickly whips around, looks at the woman, smiles and winks at her, and very courteously beckons her into the tavern, and then he walks in.
He walks in, and then there's a long pause, and he can see that the woman looked very surprised and a little shocked for a second, and then blushed. But about maybe 30 seconds after he walks in, she follows him. And we will leave that scene there. Okay. We now move to a different part of the same city later that day, or in fact that night. This area is quieter even in the daytime, and at night it's pretty much deserted. It's a residential neighborhood. Respectable. And as I said, the streets are almost deserted apart from the occasional dog or cat wandering, and a night watchman from time to time. And then we see a door open, and a man pokes his head out into the street, looks both ways, and seeing it deserted, exits the door. And then, as he does so, an arm comes out from the doorway and touches his shoulder, and he turns and looks at the woman standing in the doorway behind him. And she looks into his eyes and kisses him. And then steps back and looks at him again and shakes her head for a second and says, "I'm sorry, Darius. I can't shake this feeling that I'm never going to see you again." Can you describe what Darius looks like? And then let's take the scene from there.
Darius is trying to get away, although it's a manner of speaking. I mean, there would be nothing more than he would love than to stay in Jacinda's embrace for at least one more night. But Darius has things to do, people to see, secrets to run away from. He turns to Jacinda and presses a finger to her lips. Just stop. He starts to smile, laughing at his own joke, and she does the same. Both of them, it seems, have had a little too much brandy over the preceding hours. He says, "Well, that's the problem with me, Jacinda. I just never seem to go away, like a bad rash, or a case of the pox, or, in my case, a half-elf with a mysterious past." He takes a step back from her. In the dim gaslight highlighting the left side of his face, you see a man that typically would be described as relatively handsome, but for some reason he's quite pale. Looks like he's been put through the ringer recently. His hair is matted, although he's done his best to tie it back into a ponytail. His face is gaunt. Perhaps he's recently malnourished, and as he hesitantly steps away from Jacinda, you can see that he's walking with a limp. And as his green tunic slips over his right shoulder, you can see a crisscrossed map of wounds over his chest. And as the camera pans around the romantic duo, you can see that his back as well. There are blooms of crimson blood kind of soaking through his tunic. "You know I can't stay here forever. My past will catch up to me, Jacinda, and look what you've built here. The same as your mother did, the same as your grandmother did. Most can say I've known your whole family."
She smiles and shakes her head for a second. It's obvious as she does so that she also has seen the blood soaking through his shirt at the back and has registered it. She, smiling, she kind of catches his gaze again and says, "I still can't get over the fact that you knew my grandmother when she was young." She chuckles.
Like I said...
But despite your...
Oh, go ahead.
So, despite your long life, Darius, I can't help get the feeling that this time you've bitten off more than you can chew. I know you think you finally found your fortune, but I hope it's not the death of you.
My fortune? Jacinda, it's for both of us. And that's the reason I need to slip away tonight. I don't want to put you in any danger. Like I mentioned, that mad wizard is after me, along with his little puke of a pupil. Toad Man, I call him. Don't know his real name, but I've never seen such an ugly human in my life. But after what they did to me, well, they're going to find themselves on the wrong hand of Darius Dark Hand's dagger, or a poisoned arrow, or perhaps something more sinister.
Well, from what you said, he was a powerful wizard, so don't take him too lightly. You're doing the right thing. You do need to run. Well, I hope you run far and fast enough, and that one day you come back.
Darius idly kind of reaches his right hand down to a pouch, a leather pouch that's hung on his belt. He reaches his hands inside the pouch, and you can kind of see his hands fingering a set of dice. They seem to be black, slightly larger than the typical pair of gaming dice, writ large with golden leaf lettering studded with diamonds, real or fake, who knows, but Darius seems to be quite attached to this artifact, shall we say, and he says, right here on my waist, my dear, is our ticket to fortune and glory. Not between my legs, right here in my belt. He kind of chuckles and steps back.
She rolls her eyes at that last comment and says, it's definitely time for you to leave if you're getting that full of yourself. And she winks at him. Well, best you go while I can still let you go. And she looks at him and then looks down and then looks away and closes the door, leaving him out on the street by himself.
Darius kind of does a mock flourish, as you would see the most polished bards do. He bends deeply, hinges at the waist, his dark locks falling almost over his shoes, and oh, go to the abyss. Oh, never thought a half-elf has ever been this close to death. All right, nothing a little liquor won't solve, though. Good night, Jacinda, until we meet again. You are a lovely one. Perhaps one among many, but you are special, my dear. And he does his best to skip down the alleyway, although he's limping. And perhaps a little drip of blood trails behind him.
And we see as he makes his way through the streets that he walks proudly but nonchalantly, with a kind of studied grace as he walks through the streets. At any point where he thinks people can notice, and then when it's quiet and there's no one around, then he lets himself sag a little bit painfully and kind of limps a little bit more. And eventually he makes his way to the docks. And there are many ships at anchor. Most of them have perhaps a watchman on board. Some, the crew are on board, sleeping, getting ready to sail in the early morning. But one of those that's crewed and ready to go is a little bit more active than most. The crew aren't making much noise, but they are making ready to sail, despite it being night. A perilous undertaking for most circumstances. And we see Darius make his way up the gangplank, and there the master of the ship meets him at the top of the gangplank, and some coin changes hands. And we get a little closer, And we hear the captain say to Darius, "Very well, you won't find much of you won't find many questions on this ship. So, yeah, like you said, no questions asked. But in return, you don't ask questions of the other passengers or us. Understood?"
You're not going to get any questions out of me. There's nothing I want more than a bit of shut-eye and perhaps a spot of drink if you had it.
Oh, yes, we have that. And for what you're paying, well, the rum won't run dry.
Yeah,
And he nods to the to a mate who heads off to get some. Sorry, you were saying?
No. He just says, "You won't find me a problem. Keeping my belly full, and perhaps I'll wake up at our destination."
Well, we've got a few days to go, but enough rum and you could sleep all the way through. He chuckles to himself. And he kind of waves a hand, taking this rather run down ship, and says, "Welcome to the Grace of Solamnia." Does seem rather grandiose name for such a ship that's obviously seen better days. But he seems proud of it.
Yeah. Darius walks onto the ship and looks around, and perhaps the poop deck is quite literal in this sense, and there have been some bird droppings that have not been cleaned up. But for the most part, it's a well-kept ship. He doesn't see any rot or anything like that in the ship. He says, "It's quite a vessel you have here, mate. You should be proud. Now about that rum."
And he smiles a rather gap-toothed grin, and indicates to where his first mate is getting the rum. And we'll leave Darius there for the moment. Okay. We'll move over to a river. It's a river, and it's nighttime. It's the next night, in fact. And sorry, it's not the next night. It's the same night, in fact, but much later in the night. It's not far from dawn. And we are not far south of the city of Calaman. Let me see, did I put a map here? Yeah, I'm going to go across to a map here just to show a bit of context. Calaman is an independent city, once part of Solamnia, but now a city-state in its own right. And it's set on a bay. It sits on a bay that leads out to the sea that's to the north of this continent, but also on the Vingard River, a broad river that runs right through the heart of Solamnia. And it's that river that we see now. So we're perhaps a little off to the west of the city. It's near dawn, but it's still very dark. And the scene that we see, there is a minotaur here. His hands are bound, and there are two dragon men, draconians, who are both armed, keeping a careful watch on him. And they're waiting as that same ship that Darius boarded makes its way down the river, which is much broader than the one in this picture, and pulls into some secluded shallows. And as the ship starts to kind of anchors and drops a rowing boat near to shore, they look across at their captive. He's gagged, but one of them pulls down the gag to give him a drink of water. The water's a little musty from quite an old water skin, but it's palatable. So, and as they do so, one of them says, "Well, with every step of the way, mate, your new home gets closer. You're going to enjoy the mines of Throt." And they chuckle to themselves. "One like you, well, You might live even a couple of years. So tell us what Dalrend looks like, and then how he responds to his two captors.
Dalrend is obviously a minotaur, and much like the minotaurs of Kryn, he's a rather large creature. His hair is predominantly black, with the exception around his muzzle, which is turned almost a winter white, though it is sometimes hard to gauge the age of a minotaur. He looks maybe defeated a little, as he is both primarily gagged and chained around the wrists, unable to free himself from the two draconians. As they offer him a bit of water, he takes it and immediately spits it back at them as they mock him and his current predicament. He kind of rumbles, "You're lucky you two have me in chains. We'd see who's laughing then." His dress as what appears to be a slave or criminal or prisoner is basically a Greek loincloth and chitin. He has no real arms or armament to speak of, and it seems that these two clearly are looking forward to selling him to whomever.
And as you spit in their faces, one of them reacts angrily, the other one just kind of laughs as he wipes it off. The one who reacted angrily turns and backhands Dalrend across the face with some force, and says, "If you weren't worth so much, I'd slit your throat here and now." The other one says, No. Remember, eyes on the prize. Eyes on the prize. We're getting a lot of money for him. Strong slaves make a lot." And then, as they're talking, two more of their kind make their way through, suddenly appear out of a nearby copse of trees that sits between this group and the city. And they appear to be dragging an unconscious person. And as they get closer, we see that it's Aesh.
Oh no.
And as they get closer, he starts to stir. Unlike Dalrend, he's not bound and gagged, but one of them's got each of his arms. And as a sort of slighter figure, they are considerably more stocky than him. They're a lot broader and more muscular looking. They don't seem to feel as threatened by him as they do by the large and powerful Minotaur. And the two groups seem to know each other and nod as they get closer. And Aesh starts to stir as the two groups meet up. Aesh, you don't remember much apart from this. Well, you and I have talked offline about what you remember, right? And these two draconians meeting the others say, picked up another one. He looks a little scrawny, but well, and he's still holding Aesh by one arm. He reaches around with his other hand and kind of cups Aesh's chin and pushes his face up and says, "The humans say he's pretty, though. They might find other purposes for him." And they all chortle to themselves. And Aesh at that point regains consciousness and opens his eyes to see these draconians who look like... have I made that visible? Yeah, I think you can see this picture here, right? And then immediately afterwards, he sees Dalrend, an even more formidable figure. How does he react?
So Ash is very groggy. He kind of comes out of it slowly, and his head is throbbing. It feels like somebody's taken a war drum and it's right in the center of his brain and just beating it mercilessly. The sad part is there's not even a tune to the beating, and to a bard that is more painful than the drum itself. he kind of eyes slowly open, and he sees these figures. At first, his eyes like really, just pop wide open. He's heard of tales of dragons, given his the location of his homeland, and for a moment he thinks he's back. He feels he's in some nightmarish story that he and his friends growing up told each other of how the dragons had walking dragon men and would steal young adolescent boys and take them away. And he feels like he's in a dream, he's in a nightmare, he's in a story. And then he kind of turns around and he sees this thing it looks like a bull, but it's not a bull. It's a man, but a bull at the same time. Huge, tall, dark, glaring back at him, saying nothing, and he is confused. Then he realizes, no, this is reality. This is not a story, and it slowly starts coming together. Was it yesterday? Was it 2 days ago? He doesn't even have track of time. He remembers being in a tavern, talking to this young, beautiful woman, having a lot of ale, eating a lot of food. She paid for it. He couldn't believe it. But then Ash has that effect. People do things for him. Next thing he knows, they're running through the alleyways of that little port, and they find themselves a room. She promises him a evening to remember, and he turns around to her and says, no, you will be the one to remember this evening, but you will remember it, and your children will remember it, and their children will remember it. You all will sing songs about it. Next thing he knows, he's on the bed, he's chained up. He's not sure if this is the custom of this new land he's on, where these actions takes place when one is chained and the other is free. And then he kind of goes blank. Then he realizes that it was not what it was meant to be, but a trap. And he finds himself here.
And how does Dalren react? This new person's been dragged up, and they're obviously in the same boat, and this human has no idea what's going on.
Quick question: did the draconians put the ball gag back in Dalren's mouth?
No, they didn't. No,
okay.
It wasn't a ball gag. It was just a
it was just a gag. Just a gag. Sorry.
So I mean, the ball gag was Ash in this other scene that we're talking about.
So Dalren, he sees this other person being dragged out by another pair of draconians, and he kind of sits there silently watching him, occasionally kind of shaking his head as maybe a errant fly or two try landing on his ears. And as the individual comes up, he wonders if that's just another slave for the mines that the draconians had mentioned. If they are selling them as slaves, then he knows he can probably rib them a little or try and harass them, as they don't want to damage the goods. But considering his lip was still a little numb and his snout itched from the sting of the backhand, he stays silent. He just kind of eyes this human, trying to guess where he came from, how they came into the possession of the draconians, and sits quietly for the moment, just staring at the quartet and the newcomer.
And as they are looking at each other, the draconians drag Aesh over towards the riverbank and kind of prod Dalren to move in that direction, because the rowing boat that was let down by the ship has reached shore. It's a mid-sized rowing boat. It looks like it will take about 8 or 10 people. There are 2 sailors in it at the moment on the oars, and there'll be room for the rest of you. The draconians nod to the sailors, who nod back. Let's have let's do the first check of this campaign. Dalrand and Aesh, you can both make an insight check.
All right.
Oh, D20. You fucking piece of shit.
Yep, so we set the tone.
Can't blame D20.
Yeah.
You can't blame the D20. It's you.
Luckily, it was a pretty easy check. So Aesh gets an idea that Dalren doesn't really pick up on it, but Aesh, you get the feeling that these people, these sailors and the draconians, they're familiar with each other. They may not be friends necessarily. You couldn't really judge that with a roll like that, but they're familiar with each other. They kind of nod in a familiar way. Maybe they've done this before. Maybe this is a regular thing. Again, your check's a little low to be sure, but they certainly know each other. You're bundled onto the rowing boat and rowed out to the ship. And as you get there, we see that on the ship, Darius is by the rail at that time. The ship moored, and it seemed pretty soon after leaving the city. So curiosity's brought you up on board, and you do see these two captives being rowed up to the side of the ship, and then kind of encouraged at sword point to climb the ladder and onto deck, followed by 4 draconians. Now, draconians, when they were originally created, were kind of wholly evil beings dominated by one of the goddesses of darkness. But over time, over the centuries, they become just another race of the world, a free world race. They are inclined to be aggressive, and for some of them, that's kept them on, let's say, the darker side of things. But others have found their way into militaries and militias the world over. So they're by no means universally evil now. But it doesn't surprise you to see that 4 of them are what appears to be slavers. And you see these 2 captives come on board. And Dalrend, how do you react when you see Darius?
When Darius sees this minotaur, he obviously has never met this creature before. He seems very sullen, but as this individual looks around, he makes eye contact with Darius, and he sees a moment of understanding of recognition. And he holds it for a moment. His eyes kind of narrow, and it's clear that he knows you, or he's seen you before. Whether that's good or bad is unknown. You would probably think you've seen or recall a minotaur of Dalren, but after a moment, he just kind of shakes his head again and turns away. And as he's kind of walking to where the draconians are pushing him and Aishi, he turns around and looks at him one more time before turning back.
Yeah, Darius. Though it's not far from port, it's far enough for a couple rums to be in his system for sure. And Darius isn't quite intoxicated, but he has that loose feel about him as he leans gingerly on the deck rail of the ship, looking down over the water as it glints in the moonlight as these 2 captives are ushered aboard. He takes a sip of his rum and thinks of, oh Lord, just be glad it's not me this time. Well, and he looks towards the minotaur, and at first he takes another sip, and then he does a double take and looks back and says, oh my god, that's... How does he know you?
I don't think you do know him. That's the interesting thing. He seems to know you, but you don't recall meeting him.
Yeah, so you've been, we've all been at, like, I've been at baseball games that my staff has been there, and I don't know everybody's staff because there's like 100 people, and they know me, but I don't know them, and so you know what you do, you kind of recognize it. Hey, you give the head nod, right? You give the head nod. So he gives a head nod to the Minotaur, like, and who the hell is this Minotaur? He obviously knows who I am. I don't know who he is, and he's gotten himself into trouble. He downs the rest of his rum, and though he's drinking, he does his best to stay on high alert, and he looks towards Ayesh and the other prisoners that are being ushered aboard to try to get a little bit of insight about the situation.
Yeah. Let's just, because we haven't had many rolls yet, let's, Darius, you can make a deception roll. Just setting that innocent little social deception. And Dalrend and Ayesh, let's see if you do any better on the insight. Just very low stakes. We'll just see whether you've seen through his little polite subterfuge.
D20! 3.
You got +7 and you rolled a 10.
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. Come on, Ayesh. No!
What?
+7, you know.
Have you really got no bonus to your insight? Oh no, it's wisdom. I suppose you might not. Yeah,
No,
he's not a very
but-
wise
yeah.
character.
Who, Aish? Oh, Aish is not wise at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
He's
so
intelligent.
He follows
Darius, it
one
wasn't
part of
great,
his body, and it ain't his
it
brain.
wasn't great, but you got away with it.
Yeah, it's the rum. That's the rum talking. So yeah, he looks at the Minotaur and he plays it off. It's not his best work, but by golly, he's looking at their uniform, at their boots, at any jewelry they might have on to figure out where these people are from and how he might know at least one of them.
Yeah, so Dalrend, do you think that's I'm quite surprised, but Darius seems to acknowledge you and recognize you. Very odd. Yeah, Darius, you probably haven't seen anyone looking quite like Ayesh before. I mean, Calaman, like I said, it's a melting pot. There's people from all over, but you couldn't place where this Ayesh would be from. He's not. You know, he's a little too dark-skinned to be from Salamnia, but not quite dark-skinned enough to be from Northern Urgoth. So yeah, it's quite. Yeah, he's obviously got it's like some sort of interesting background to him, and there's something about his features that indicate perhaps a different origin. So yeah, and his clothes as well. Do you think maybe he's from further away? Yeah, a minotaur around these parts, that's pretty unusual. Minotaurs have conquered large areas of the east of the continent, including the former Elven homeland and former Eastern Elven homeland. But this area, no, you don't really see them. So yeah, they don't tend to wander either. They're a pretty regimented society, very militaristic. So both of them pretty unusual.
Yeah, Darius drains the rest of his rum and thinks better than to grab another glass. He sees the size of the Minotaur and sizing him up, thinks to himself, this ship, I might have paid a palmful of gold to ride on this thing, but unless he keeps his head low, there's going to be trouble. And Lord knows I've had more than my share of trouble recently, he thinks to himself. And so he goes below decks again and continues to mingle with the lowborn of the ship.
Okay, excellent. And shortly afterwards, Dalrend and Ayesh, you're brought below as well. There's nowhere to really secure you, not any kind of pen or anything. So they just leave your hands tied behind you, kind of sit you down on a barrel each in the corner, and they kind of get a sailor to bring you a little food. It's not great, some kind of slightly rancid biscuit and a little bit of water. Tastes like river water. It's okay, but it's not good. Anything else you want to do, or should we move to the next scene?
Ash is gonna look up to them. Where are you taking me?
There are two sailors there, and one of the draconians is nearby, just kind of keeping an eye on you. He starts to chuckle to himself. One of the sailors looks kind of rueful and kind of shakes his head and doesn't want to make eye contact. The other one says, "Well, Sonny, you're being taken to a place they call Thought. It's a Hobgoblin Kingdom. It's no, not a nice place. But they runs on slaves. So sorry." And he kind of shrugs, sniffs again, and heads back away from you.
But I'm too... As he's walking away, I'm kind of shout back. But I'm too pretty to be a slave.
The draconian is really belly laughing at that. And he says, well, if you want, maybe I could just see if I could sell you to the sailors, but this lot aren't out of sight of land long enough to be interested, I don't think." And then the sailors kind of glare at him, and he chuckles to himself and says, "Nah, you're going to the mines." And
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
When he says that to him, right, he kind of looks around to everyone, and he kind of like says it out a little loud. Do you know why the draconian couldn't get an erection?
There's a low rumble in the throat of the draconian.
It turns out he had reptile dysfunction, and he starts like laughing in his face.
The minotaur, like, just, you hear him snort, and there's like this low, what sounds like a growl, but turns into like a hearty laugh as he looks at the draconian and just laughs at him.
And can I just use that as a vicious mockery, just attack on him?
I think vicious mockery. You need. Do you need to actually have hands free? It's got like a
it says
pun?
V. V is
It's
the
V.
component. V. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, you can then. So you can roll for that.
Let's see. Just to add some.
Yeah.
Aww, 1.
He
Needs to make a.
he kind of reels as if almost kind of slapped, and then he stands up, shakes his head a little bit as if kind of shaking off this insult that almost seemed to just, kind of psychologically hurt him. And he walks over to you, snarling, and then full on, just this time a forehand slap, but with a clawed hand, and he just slapped you straight across the face.
Emotional damage.
Ash
he's
is about
really
to say
not gonna
don't.
miss.
Ash is about to say don't damage the goods before he slaps him,
Yeah,
but
you
just
get,
when he
"Don't
says
do-"
that, he slaps him.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just roll to see whether he gets a decent slap off. And
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll go from there. Hold on, give me just a second. Need to line up his stats. Yeah. I had all this lined up, and then my PC decided to reboot. Here we go. Okay, what have we got here? I'll make his short sword roll, but it won't be the same damage. Oh, he got a crit.
You broke your jaw.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's got a clawed hand, so he's going to do 1d4 plus 1, but the d4 is going to get doubled, so I'm just going to roll 2d4 plus 1. Oh,
Nice.
8 points of damage. That's hefty. There's a real crunch, and he brings blood both with his claws and the force of the blow as he hits you. He just catches Ash perfectly. unfortunately. So yeah, how does that look?
Yeah, so Ash is, as he comes around, Ash is laughing, all the sailors are laughing, and he kind of stares him back in the eye, and now he sees that the Drake is coming back to like do him bodily harm, and he kind of tries to go back a little, and he's about to say, "Don't damage the goods," but he's too late, and the Drake kind of slaps him, but he slaps him so hard that with 8 he almost like knocks Ash to the ground, and he is bleeding from his mouth and he's almost unconscious. So the goods are definitely damaged.
Oh dear. Yeah, the draconian then immediately kind of switches from rage to near panic, and he kind of, Aesh is probably kind of slumped against the wall or fallen off the barrel certainly, and he kind of picks him up and tries to put him back on the barrel and like shakes him a bit, and he goes, "Come on, you're fine, you're fine." And he's giving him like little kind of slaps, kind of pat slaps around the cheek. And notices he's got blood on his hands from where he's kind of clawed Ash's cheek. And he's going, you're fine. Shit. And turns and glares at the sailors and says, "None of you saw anything. Or you." And he points to Dalrend.
Dalrend, kind of snorts, goes, "Your companions might be pretty angry to learn you almost killed one of us."
It's his fault. Yeah, he was trying to escape. I had to do it. Shit. He'll be fine. And he notices that Aesh is kind of just about conscious, just about alive, and he goes, Here, and he walks across to one of the other barrels, and gets the little cup he's been using to give you guys the river water, throws the water out on the boards, and pours a little rum from the barrel, and then brings it over to Aesh and kind of forces it into his mouth. And goes, "There you go, right as rain. He's going to be fine." And he kind of glares at Dalrend as if kind of daring him to dispute this dubious conclusion.
Ash kind of gulps down the rum. It kind of like jars him as the liquid kind of brings warmth back into his lungs and sternum. And he kind of looks up at the Drake, smiles and winks at him, and then kind of like closes his eyes, like as if he's like unconscious again, like he's a bard, right? So he acts like as if he just went unconscious again.
Yeah,
he's just messing with him now, right?
Yeah, he looks really kind of worried, and he goes, shit. I think there's there must be someone on him, some kind of healer on board.
Darius stands up. Healer here.
And excellent. And he sort of calls him over and he goes, it's worth 2 gold if you can. Here they have steel pieces. So he says, it's worth 2 steel if you can heal him.
2 steel.
And he kind of fumbles around in a coin purse.
Darius does his best to kind of lean back, as if he's not, but he's as if he's taking pleasure in the discomfort of the Minotaur and the foreigner. He says, 2 pieces of steel, Draconian, doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. Do you not know who you're talking to?
And he's thoroughly off balance now, so he sort of goes, no.
My name is Talbot,
kind of looks you up and down.
Master of poultices, healer of men and minotaurs, and even from time to time, draconians, if the price is right. But you won't have to raise that price by 100%. 4 steel pieces, and maybe I'll take a look at your damaged goods. And don't think I didn't hear you abusing them.
Excellent. Can you make you can either make a persuasion check rather, if you're going to lean in more to the kind of appeal you made there, like I'm amazing, you ought to pay me more. Or if you want to lean a bit more into that intimidation side of things, with that little threat at the end, I thought you did. You can make an intimidation check. So you've got your choice.
Persuasion. I think.
Oh yeah. And he kind of looks at you and says, right, looks you up and down. He's still not entirely convinced that you are a healer, but you're very persuasive. He's all right. Look, four steel. Otherwise, it's getting to the point I want to make a profit on him.
Well, if making a profit's the problem, perhaps I can be helpful with that as well. Talbot, Master of Poultices, is a man of means, although I've come on rough times. My presence on this ship here is a matter of some discussion and a lengthy tale, but we'll save that for another time. What type of profit were you planning on making? I could perhaps take them off of your hands.
And he's kind of scratches the he's got these kind of pointed scales on his chin. He kind of scratches them almost like a beard. I can't. The boss has made a deal. Can't go back on a deal. We've got a good business going with the hobgoblins.
Understood. You have a boss. I personally don't have a boss. I make my own rules, but some of us aren't built for that sort of life. So I understand. I'll heal your property here. So he kind of does his best. Talbot, Master of Poultices, stand up, slightly drunk at this point, and wanders over to the boys here, to Mr. Dalrend and Aish. He kind of bends over Aish and smells the rum that has been poured into his face and kind of looks him over. He says, "Sorry, chap. I don't have much knowledge of medicine apart from what my grandmother taught me when I was 50. What hurts the most?"
Oh, it's my face. It's my money maker. Without it, I might as well be dead.
He kind of looks at him and raises his face, not caring if he has a facial fracture or not. Looks at his symmetric features, his lush black hair, his chiseled chin, his dark eyebrows and intense eyes. "I dare say you are a handsome man, although I don't know your name yet. It makes me wonder what the women from your homeland look like. I'll help you if you promise to help me with one of them."
Wow, you really just left Jacinda as well.
If you heal this will open all the locks and all the boxes and all the foxes that you can ever dream of.
Oh, I did mention that I don't know anything about healing. That's going to be a problem, but it seems to me your main issue is that you are tied up on a filthy ship and being held captive by, shall we say, mentally challenged drakes.
Yes, indeed. But the journey, I believe, might be long enough where you and I could do something and find our way off the ship.
Very well.
He'll say it loud enough where Dalrend also would hear it.
Dalrend kind of watches the two, and especially watches Darius with a kind of suspect eye. He also has kind of almost like a sneer, a grin on his face as he thinks back to how much better he took the draconian slap than this frail little human in front of him. But he just kind of looks and kind of as he watches them, kind of nods along as they're talking to each other.
So I think what the most important thing is that this draconian thinks that I healed you, and your name is
Aish.
Aish. Yes.
It'll be famous in this land one day,
Ah,
and you are my first friend.
indeed. He holds out his hand to shake it, and then to the minotaur. And my name obviously is not Talbot, Master of Poultices. It's Darius Darkhand, half elf thief, wanted by many, but mostly by women.
Then there shall be unending line of women with me by your side. Lift me, and I shall show them I have been healed.
So Darius goes through this. He does his best to fool the draconians that he's a healer. Runs his hand over the bodies, examines Ayesh's face. If he has any sort of supplies in his pocket, he kind of tries to use those, and then he lays his hands upon Ayesh and says, "Alas! Rise, you are healed." COVID-19.
You actually
Yes, exactly. So, exactly. So Ash,
gaping facial wound. Be gone.
be gone. Yeah, Ash just pops out, he's kind of sitting and he just pops up. He's pretty lithe, pretty dexterous. He pops up and he shakes with his hands behind him. I am healed. I am healed. You are not just a master. You are a grandmaster of poultices, Talbot. A grandmaster.
Okay, so one of you can make a performance check assisted by the other one. So you can pick which one of you makes it and the other one's helping, because you're both kind of working together on this. So.
Yeah, I'll make the performance check and then...
Okay, so his assistance means that you get advantage on that. Is that okay with you, Bo?
Sounds good to me.
So I click on advantage in the sheet and then
Yeah.
I roll performance.
So it should roll twice and
Ooh.
pick the highest.
Oh,
18. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you do this and you pop up and the draconian kind of looks surprised and pleased and goes, He kind of looks at Ayesh and sees he's still got this gaping facial wound. He still looks slightly he's managing to look quite clear, but he doesn't feel it. His head's still ringing. But the draconian is fooled. He says, I don't know how you did it. The wound's not gone, but he looks better.
Of course you don't know how I did it. That's why you can't do it. For I am Talbot, Master of Poultices, and I know such things.
Grandmaster.
Ha! Indeed, my good man, Grandmaster. And I could be a...
It's not how the clerics do it, I know that much, but here's your full steel. He hands it over to Darius, both looking confused and impressed, and then looks at Ayesh and just goes, you watch your mouth next time, right? And he goes and sits down in the corner. And you notice this time he's keeping in sight range of you, but slightly out of easy kind of conversational hearing range, so he doesn't hear anything that might upset him.
And when he says, you watch your mouth this time, Darius kind of says back, that's what the ladies also want. And he kind of smiles back.
Dalrink is his head just leans back against, the keel or the wall of the ship. You just kind of hear this moo/moan of annoyance as these two just keep going on and on.
The Ego Brothers. Okay. And everyone can make a perception check. This is a kind of sliding scale. It's something I do fairly often. Rather than there being just a set difficulty with a sort of pass-fail, depending on how well you do, there's a point at which you'll learn something, and then, above that, higher rolls you'll hear more. Okay. Darius hears something first. It's very subtle, but there's a noise that you think that if you're out on deck might actually be quite loud. you can hear people people reacting to it as well. So you hear this kind of like occasional, well, kind of rhythmic noise, a sort of woof, woof, woof.
Yeah. Darius is quiet in his
Yeah, because
cups. He leans over the ship and he half expects to see a bunch of slave rowers below just doing it.
You are below deck. You are below
Yeah,
deck, so you can't really see.
He hasn't seen such a thing, but he does hear that, and he kind of looks around and does anybody hear that? Or it's like, if I'd had too much rum and not enough of this stale mealy bread.
And you can definitely hear, both Darius and Aesh can hear that people on deck are reacting. They sort of, what's that noise? What's that noise? Look out! Look out! What do you see? And then you can hear the lookout. Both of you can hear the lookout calling something back. Dalrend, you can hear those voices, but you can't make out what they're saying. And the lookout calls back, there's a light above the clouds, but the cloud level's too low. I can't see. There's something up there. And the captain's calling out, make ready all. And all of a sudden, just all hell breaks loose. You hear a scream of dragon, and then there's a noise from above that just sounds like, and you're wondering what it is for a second, and then you hear the sound of things burning, and you realize that must have been a massive gout of flame. And then you realize that you're in a pretty bad situation here. The draconian immediately just abandons you and runs for the hatch. He throws it back as he climbs the ladder, and you see up on deck there's absolute chaos. The sails are on fire. Part of the deck is on fire, and above the ship, let's do another perception check. See how much you can see. Again, sort of sliding scale.
Is it possible for Dalren to kind of like rip his bonds off so he's not handcuffed, for the lack of a better term?
Yeah, so he's got his hands bound, but he should be able to. He can make an attempt at doing it. We'll cover that in a second. We're just going to see what you see as the draconian heads up on deck first. Okay, so Dalren's the only one that sees it. You catch a glimpse of a huge creature in the sky above. And it seems to be glowing with an inner fire as if its skin is lava. You've seen lava from a distance before, like way in the east, but you've never seen a creature that appeared to have kind of lava beneath its skin. And this is a large dragon. There's no rider on it like the picture, but it's kind of, you see it kind of pass by the ship, and a gout of flame hits the ship, and there's a lot of shouting and screaming from above, and the main shout you can hear is abandoned ship. So yeah, okay, we'll start going round, and seeing as Dalren was the first one who wanted to act, we'll go Dalren, then Aesh, Darius, and just work our way around, unless you guys want to change the order. So Dalren, you're going to try and just break these bonds. So you can make a strength check, but you're pretty well bound, and they've kind of adjusted the ropes for your strength. So unfortunately, it's going to be a DC 22 strength check.
Alrighty.
Oh
well,
yeah!
Wouldn't you know? I got my first nat 20.
Oh, look at
Lovely
that.
timing.
So perhaps
that,
it's
son.
a combination of adrenaline, because the other two see Dalren kind of quickly jump to his feet, and you hear him, he goes, that idiot yelling dragon isn't lying. There's one out there, I swear. And he just like a little bit of panic into his voice, and he just starts, reaching, like kind of getting his arms, stretching them across or away from each other, and slowly you hear the binds on his hands start almost ripping, and finally it kind of like finally snaps free, and his hands are free, and he goes, we need to get out of here now.
How do you two react to that? Because he was well bound with pretty stout rope, and he just tore the ropes apart.
Yeah, Ash kind of, the moment he says there's a dragon up there, Ash is now, he's really worried. He knows dragons have great sense of hearing. Did the dragon hear his joke and think he was making fun of it, and that's why it's here? And then he's got all these thoughts running in his head, and then he sees this bull, man, beast stand up and just break his bonds like it was just twine. And he's just looking at him like eyes just, just wide as saucers. Free me, free me!
And he kind of couple of quick strides over to where he is and goes to undo his bonds as well.
Yep, you can do that. Or yeah, and Darius, what are you doing?
Yeah, he would help him too, unless the Minotaur was doing it, if Dowrand was doing it. And he made that first perception. We got a crit fail on the second one, so he hears everybody kind of yelling about a dragon upstairs. He goes up there, and he just kind of looks. These draconians and the shipmates, they were a stroll short of a stack. That's just a falling star. It's just and then just the boat just is rent by a flame, and the gouts of flame puts up, and he just hurtled back down the steps and lands, kind of singed but not smoking, injured, next to the Minotaur, who is unbinding Ayash. There's a dragon up there.
Yeah, and what you did see, you didn't see the dragon itself, but what you did see is there's low, thick clouds. It's a very dark night. But you did see some kind of orange glow above the cloud, moving very fast. So that's what you probably thought was some kind of falling star. Right. Okay. So, yeah, Dalrend, you can have a go at Ayesh's bonds. This time it's easier. It's only a DC 17.
Alrighty. This time.
Yeah, so you've weakened them on that. You've weakened them. By the way, I think you're rolling a strength save, so it's only a 10 because you don't get your proficiency.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, it's a 10. So you've got enough that you've kind of weakened it a little bit. Next time it'll only be a 15. But Darius, might be able to help with this as well.
Do I have a dagger or no?
Yeah.
As Dalren's kind of working at it, maybe the wrapping or the rope is smaller and his hands don't have he can't get a good grip on it after ripping off his, and he kind of holds the hands up roughly to Darius. He goes, "Cut these off. We need to go now."
Darius kind of walks towards Ayash like he's going to lay hands on him again. Just flip with the flick of the wrist. There's a dagger that was obviously up his sleeve, and it's in his wrist, and he attempts to cut the bonds loose.
Yeah. Now with the dagger, you'll be able to get through them, but I'm going to get you to make a check just to see how quick it is. If you get, so you can make a dexterity check, just straight dexterity. If you get a 15 or higher, you're through it in one round. Otherwise, it's going to take you 2 rounds, which will seem a long time to you at the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. So, yep. Okay, again, you rolled a dex save, but in your case, it's the same. Looking at it, I think.
I'm doing the same thing.
Possibly.
I'm doing the column instead of the numbers on the far left.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what should I be
if you highlight over like strength or dex, it'll turn red.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the way Dalrend just did it. But yeah, that's fine. I'll just take 2 off that dex save.
Yeah.
So you'll be 17. You'll be 17, which is fine. You cut straight through those bonds. You just saw your way through. The Dalrend's. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, we can't get you through. We're gonna have to leave you. Yeah. Darius quickly saws through the ropes. They've been weakened by Dalrend as well. So there's clearly a weakened spot, and you just saw away at that for 4 or 5 seconds, and you break the ropes.
The truth shall set you free.
So now you're all free.
Yeah.
But you're still below decks on a ship that's slowly starting to catch fire. You're in the middle of a river. Luckily not a very fast-flowing river. It's very broad at this point. And there seems to be a dragon somewhere in the area. the sound of flame, the sound of these gouts of flame has ceased, but the sound of the wing beats is now constant, and you can hear screams. And now they're not just screams of pain, they're screams of fear. There is some screams of pain as well. What are you going to do?
We need to get overboard. Overboard! And Dalren kind of tries to climb out onto the deck and look for a part that isn't on fire that he could possibly maybe jump off into the river.
Lead the way. We'll follow you.
Lead the way. We'll follow you.
You emerge onto the deck, and it's a pretty chaotic scene. It looks like any sailor who could swim has jumped overboard, and you can see also that some of them who presumably couldn't swim have got into that rowing boat, but it was their screams you heard. The rowing boat is now not in the river, but being held aloft by this dragon, who is holding it up towards its mouth and then craning its neck down as it flaps its wings to hold roughly steady in the air. And the petrified sailors are sitting in this rowing boat, and it's being picked off one by one as if they were in a bowl and just being eaten out of the bowl. And even over the sound of the flame, the sound of all the shouts and screams, and the screams of pain of them, you can still make out the crunch of bone as it bites into one of these poor unfortunate sailors. Right. You now need to... the good thing is it's going to be distracted for a little while, because it's got about 6 or 7 sailors to eat. So what are you going to do? There are no more boats. The river's here, it's quite broad. As I say, not too fast flowing, but it's dark, it's cold, and I don't know how good most of you are at swimming. Swimming is based on athletics.
I happen to be very good, apparently. We all
Excellent.
know Kryn minotaurs are known for their sailing.
This is true. They are. They're great sailors.
So, he's gonna...
Would Darius know
if
this? Cultural knowledge? Would he know this? That they're good at sailing? Because
Darius would.
yeah, he looks at the Minotaur.
Aesh wouldn't. Aesh wouldn't really. Oh, Aesh might. Aesh, you can make a history check if you want. If you get a 10 or higher, you know.
Open those history books, son.
And then Darius, you can carry on talking while he works his roll. Anyway.
As he's getting to roll, he looks at Darius. Can you swim?
I can swim, but not well. Look at you. You're a Minotaur. You know this river, right? This is your river. Get us to shore. Let's take over the boat. It's ours now.
This boat, which is on fire.
You fool.
Well, you can at least navigate it to shore. You're a nautical genius, aren't you? He says, listen, we've known each other for a long time. He says,
Dalren kind of like shakes as he goes,
Okay.
Yeah. He goes, you fool, like, it doesn't matter how good I am at steering a ship if it's on fire.
He just kind of looks around his environment to see if there's any idea or anything he can use. His last choice would be jumping overboard and trying to swim through a river, no matter how lazily flowing, while a dragon is picking humans out of the water like bobbing for apples and crunching their bones.
Yeah. Dalren's basically going to look for the side of the ship that isn't currently occupied by a dragon, that also hopefully is to the closest bank of the river.
Yep, that's the east bank.
So he's going to look
Sorry, the south bank. Sorry, south bank.
Yeah, he's going to look at Aish. He goes, you, tiny human. And he kind of squats down. Get on my back. No jokes, or I will drown you.
No jokes. But I can swim. I'm fine. Take
Fine.
the...
And then he just turns and runs towards the nearest
I healed you!
Boat and just leaps into the water.
I pretend healed you.
Okay. Darius, you remember below decks there were a load of barrels, There were stools down there. They're all made of wood. There's quite a lot of stuff that floats here.
I guess if he has time, he'll go down to get a flotation device, some sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
aid.
Ash is not so much worried about the water, which looks kind of strange. But no, since nobody knows much about humans, he'll come down with you. Come on, I'll help you. Let's go find something.
Yeah, he picks up the first barrel, thinking it's going to be a flotation. It's filled with rum. Oh, not good. And there's an explosion nearby, and I remember like in Indiana Jones, like there's like a little spring that comes out like of the tap, and he puts his face under, takes a drink. Okay, now I'm ready to go. And then he grabs one of the empty barrels as a flotation device, and it runs above deck.
Yeah, none of the barrels are actually empty, but there is one that you can easily tip the contents out. It's full of apples, and you tip those out, and then you've got an empty barrel to take with you. It's big enough for you to both hold on to, so between you can get it up on deck. Meanwhile, downrend, you're in the water. For you, it's not going to be too bad. You're not encumbered by armor, so you can just make an athletics check, DC 10.
Alrighty.
Yeah, no problem. So you make it about half the way to land, and so far the dragon hasn't spotted you. Aesh and Darius, between you carry the barrel, and what does it look like as the two of you in this barrel make your way off the ship?
It looks like two pretty boys in a sack race is what it sounds like to me. If you ever try to carry one object with two of you, like one of you go, and the other one will speed up, but the other one slow down because you don't know each other that well. And we're trying to get this thing to the edge. And Darius, he's kind of wondering why this stranger would come down decks below to help him. Just it's touching. It's a touching moment. And he says,
Pretty boy
"You
bonding.
didn't need to do that."
But then how are we going to celebrate once we save ourselves from this life-ending situation? You have skills. I have skills. And together, I think we can... And he's talking like, it looks like Ash is a talker, and it doesn't matter what's happening around him, even if there's a big dragon flying and coming back. He's just chatting away as he's kind of helping you move the barrel towards the edge of the ship. Yeah. The women fall for me, but there's always so much that is just never enough of me. With you.
As they're talking, like the wheel, the navigational wheel, just like flies overhead. The mast is collapsing.
As you're saying that, you're kind of ahead of me there. There is quite a lot of the rigging and the mast is starting to fall, and these big sails on this ship, they were all furled, but now they're on fire. So I'd like you to both make a dexterity saving throw this time. On dexterity check, a saving throw, DC 12. See if you can avoid all the falling, burning wreckage. Okay,
Burn victims aren't pretty
Darius
boys
does,
anymore.
but
Burn victim.
Aesh, unfortunately, you're struck by some of the rigging. There's a large, thick, burning rope that hits you across the back, and you're going to take 2 points of damage. But I think for you, that's pretty bad.
Yep, I am now doing death saving throws.
Okay, so what does it look like as you get struck by this big, thick, heavy, burning rope and struck down?
Yeah, so basically, as they're moving this barrel closer to the edge of the boat, right? Ash is just yammering away about his prowess and what they will do once they get out of this predicament. He doesn't see this piece of mast kind of falling down, and suddenly everything just goes silent. As Darius turns around and he sees there's Ash just like flattened on the deck underneath this mast. And everything is silent, just the screaming people and the roaring dragon.
Darius, it looked like you were about to get to safety, and now things are looking a lot more
Yeah,
serious.
as he gets knocked prone, he kind of turns to him and is totally surprised as sparks shower upon the poop deck of the ship. Darius looks up and he sees the dragon kind of swooping down and up through the clouds. You can't even see the stars now; they're blotted out with smoke. And he says, "Oh, what in all the abyss did I get myself into?" Okay, come on now, boy. And he's going to try to like take Ayesh's body over the barrel and try to roll him in with him into the river.
Okay. So,
We'll do it. He's kind of weak.
you do notice as well, just for an added complication, the dragon seems to have finished crunching up this this boatload of people. It seems to have given up eating them one by one, and it's just taken a mouthful. And it's looking around, and its eyes catch the sight of you on the only things moving on the deck of the ship.
No.
So I will say what you can do. You need to make me an athletics check to roll this barrel in time with Aesh on it. Unless you can sell me on something different.
Yeah. I don't think dragon's gonna fall for any of my foibles, so we'll just roll it up. No.
Oh no! Yeah, you do roll the barrel, but unfortunately, Aesh falls off it. The dragon swoops down towards the deck. It picks up Aesh's unconscious body in one claw, and makes a grab at you with the other claw. So I am going to.
Dragons.
Yeah, and it grabs you in one claw, and it starts lifting Aesh towards its mouth, and then as it kind of like swoops away from the ship, its momentum carries it off from the ship. Dalren, you can see all of this, and its momentum is carrying it over the river now. And it looks at Aesh and sees he's unconscious and just drops him into the river. It's unusual. It could have eaten him very easily and just seemed to lose interest when it saw he was unconscious. And it's about to turn its attention to you, Darius. What are you going to do?
Deception. Act unconscious.
Yes. Okay. Go for it. Okay. Okay. It doesn't look fooled, but as often happens in these cases to you over the last month or so, maybe the last week or two, ever since you got those dice, you've found that whenever someone seems to not be getting taken in by you, it's almost like time slows down and you see what's happening in time to possibly change it. Are you going to do that?
Yeah. So he's very tense, kind of struggling against the dragon, and even as he's trying to act unconscious, he senses that he's tense. His fear is there, and then a old drop of blood from his wounds that had been festering for the last several days from the mad wizard. It drops down his kind of neck and then drops into the night, and he kind of like, okay. So he relaxes more into the talons, even letting the talons dig into his flesh as the blood kind of goes down his neck, and just letting this dragon think that he's dead, he's bled out, there's nothing else to take from him.
Nice.
So he rolls deception again with advantage.
Okay. So before you do, I will say that actually that description, I liked it. You sold the description well, so I would give you advantage on the save, which means because of the special nature of your ability, you get to break one of the normal rules of the game. Normally you can't get more than advantage. But for you, you get to roll 3d20 and take the highest, and then add your deception bonus of +7.
I'm just gonna roll 3d20 and just do it that way.
Yep.
I'll take the 19.
Yeah, so that's 26 with the... So you convincingly go limp, and the dragon looks at you. You don't see this because you've got your eyes closed, but Darren, you see the dragon looks at, to you as well. It looks like Darius just died of his wounds immediately. And you think maybe the dragon crushed him, and the dragon just kind of looks at him. And again, while he's kind of swooping fairly low over the water, he just drops him in the water. So, and then he kind of loses interest at this point. Most of the survivors have kind of scattered into the nearby woods, and the dragon doesn't see much, and it lets out a roar and a gout of flame that seems to emanate frustration, and then it gives a mighty beat of its wings, and then another and another, and then it's above the clouds, just an orange glow that goes away into the south. So, Dalrend, you saw Aesh hit the water near you, and he's unconscious.
Dalren kind of looks to the banks, looks to the tree line, then looks back to Aisha's unconscious form, looks back to the trees, lets out a sigh, and then turns away from the bank and starts swimming towards Aish now that the dragon seems to have been satisfied with whatever, and goes towards the former fellow captive in an attempt to bring him to shore.
Okay. So I'd like you to make an athletics check. And I'll say you're swimming pretty well here. So it's just going to be more about how, because your initial check means you're swimming well. So this is more to see how much progress you can make whilst kind of holding Aesh up. Oh, very nice. Yeah, you're managing to keep his head above water. Yeah, you're swimming towards shore. So Darius, I'd like you to make an athletics check.
No.
As well. You kind of hit the water suddenly. No. So you're going to make this first one at disadvantage. Oh. Okay, you hit the water with a big splash and go under. And you're struggling to get back to the surface, and you take a mouthful of water and you kind of get your head above the surface and cough that water out, but you're struggling. You can't seem to get your head above water well. You're just bobbing up and under. You're going above and below, above and below, above and below, and you just can't get that proper breath. You're panicking. Okay, Aesh, I would like you to make a death save, please.
Nice. Hold on.
Are we going to prove Tet wrong about D&D 5e characters never die?
Level 1.
I'd rather not prove him wrong this soon. Yeah, level 1 characters do. Okay, so you failed a
didn't add your
death
mod.
save.
Do you have no mod?
No.
I have no mod.
You're getting mouth to mouth from a cow shortly, just so you know.
They say you never go back.
Yep. Yep.
He's utterly amazing.
Nice.
No ball. Right.
Me and the dragon have beef.
Hey. Okay, so Dalrend, yeah, you've kept Aesh above water, and you're most of the way to the shore. You start dragging him up onto the shore, and you kind of put him down on the bank. And then, can you make a perception check? 10 or higher, because you saw where Darius hit as well. You saw this big splash as he hit. He hit with a massive splash. Yeah, you can see him really
in the night, apparently
struggling.
Come through in the clutch, baby.
He's really struggling. Yeah, we'll just say that what happens just in that moment, just like the picture of the river here, the moon just breaks through the cloud just for a second and just highlights this kind of ponytailed head and bearded head as it breaks surface and goes under again, breaks surface and goes under, and you can almost feel his struggle to breathe. and you kind of realize that you've got Aesh here, but then Darius could be drowning out there. What are you
As
gonna do?
he's looking out to the river and seeing Darius struggle, he kind of leans Aish onto his side, so he's not laying on his back, and starts smacking him in the middle of the back to try and get him to cough up whatever water he's swallowed.
Mhm.
And as he's doing so, he's about to go into something a little more aggressive to get him back to breathing or get whatever's in his lungs out, when he sees Darius is starting to spend more time underwater than above water. And so kind of keeping him on his side, Aish, he stands up and sprints towards Darius, kind of going into the water. And then once it's deep enough, he kind of dives forward and starts swimming towards Darius as well.
Okay, I'll give you a chance to stabilize Aish with that. It would normally be DC 10, but because you were really just trying to make sure he didn't drown, we'll say that it's going to be DC 12. So healing check.
Oh, I'm sure this will go well.
It's D20.
Is that medicine?
Yes.
Hey!
You slap him on the back and he coughs up a bit of water and a bit of blood, and his eyes flutter a little bit. He's still unconscious, but he starts breathing again. Aesh, you are no longer dying.
Yay,
You
nice.
are on 0 hit points and unconscious.
Sweet.
Okay, Darius, can you make another athletics check,
No.
please? And is there anything you want to do? I mean,
Jesus. I can't swim.
So yeah, you're going under, and this time you're going to take some damage, just from the kind of water inhalation. And I know I'm saying this to a doctor, and it probably isn't very good medicine, but hey, you're going to take some damage. Damn it, you take a point of damage from starting to drown. And then Dalrend, you got an excellent perception check, so you reach him. Can you make an athletics check to see whether you can quickly grab hold of him, etc.
As he swims up,
You've had so many. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, as I swim up, he kind of starts treading water, and he reaches an arm out and he goes, "Stop struggling, you child." And he kind of goes to reach out and grab him.
Yeah, Darius sees 2 horns break the surface of the water, like the Jaws fins coming towards him, and then a large white mane and a minotaur kind of breaks the waves, and Darius says, "Ah, old friend."
Except it's a bit more kind of like. Excellent. So with that, I will say that you've got enough that you get Darius to shore. And at that point, we're gonna take a little break. We'll end the scene with you dragging Darius on shore and Aesh lying there unconscious but stable. And we're gonna take a quick break. So let's call it actually not such a quick break. In fact, I need to do a couple of things. We're gonna call it a 10-minute break. I'll see you guys back in 10 minutes.
Sweet.
Cheers.
See you in 10. Manhattan refill.
Be right back. Now, is X's Bard going to sing the Wellerman song at some point?
Hey, Mike Daly.
Wow.
Hey, so before you logged on, we were talking. We're going to play a big joke on Tet. I want you in
Okay.
on it because I'm going to probably say some stuff on the channel to set it up. So,
Okay.
a couple days after the session's over, Juan is going to message Tet and say that Bo started giving him unwelcome advice after the game. And
Oh, Jesus.
that it started constructive and got more aggressive and demeaning, and that he has a problem with it. He doesn't think he can play here anymore.
I'm going to be like, yeah, I'll be like, dude, I normally don't get fazed by anything, but I was uncomfortable by the end of it. That's fucking perfect.
And I told Juan is like, he's just gonna say something and just kind of leave it at that, because then Ted will like ask a bunch more questions. He'll try.
give him
He'll try to
anxiety.
understate it. You know, just like kind of leave him, like not reply to him for a while.
Hey,
We're talking about the ever escalating and demeaning GM advice. There.
yeah. At some point, it just became insulting. Yeah.
I was telling Bo, I'm just gonna be, if he says anything to me, I'll be like, I was uncomfortable by the end of it, and nothing phases me.
I used to be in the desert with a bunch
poor
of dudes that hadn't got laid in 6 months. And
Yeah,
this
I
made me
used to-
uncomfortable.
I went to talk to Joe's, and they would answer the door buck naked, and we'd have majors flopping their wiener around in these big bay windows. That was just Tuesday. But this, I was like, oh, God. Did he learn nothing? He just can't let it go. He gets in the sauce with those freaking old fashions and just starts running his mouth.
Manhattans. I'm only on my second one.
Whatever.
By the way, if you buy a bottle of bitters, I think it lasts for your entire life.
Yeah. 'Cause you need like
Because
drops.
like every
right?
recipe is just like one little drop for every cocktail. It's like a little dash. But you buy a bottle of it, and it's like a little bottle, like a ketchup bottle.
Hmm.
I think I bought one bottle of bitters in the past. I bet my little bottle of bitter is probably like 5 years old.
Wow.
I'm back.
You're back. Hey, excellent. We've got everyone. Okay. Right. So do you want to count me down, Bo, and we'll get started again? Oh, does anyone have any questions or anything before we get started?
No, at the moment, so far, so good.
Okay. Good stuff.
And I never stopped the
Okay.
recording, so 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So we're going to pick up a little bit later on. As I mentioned at the start, we're running this as a kind of a series of scenes leading into the start of the adventure proper. So we kind of cut from this scene on the riverbank, and we find ourselves somewhere very different. The scene is a road, or at least a path, across an empty landscape we're panned back quite a way and then we kind of zoom in as we see some movement on this road. There are a couple of wagons. These wagons have bars and they're enclosed, and they're obviously kind of cages on wheels. Each one's driven by a human peasant. But by side of them walk a mixture of rough-looking humans, some hobgoblins, and the same draconians that had you captive before. When you made your way onto the riverbank and survived the dragon, your relief at survival, and then shortly afterwards finding a nearby settlement was sadly short-lived. For the draconians found that settlement as well. And rather than face you, they paid the villagers to drug you. And soon and by this point all three of you are now captives. The draconians handed you over to the hobgoblins and seem to be escorting you to some sort of point where they will fully hand you over to a larger number of hobgoblins. It seems that there are more wagons meeting up at this point. You can see that there are other captives in these wagons, and in your wagon, let me just drop someone else on here. If I can find the person.
Jacinda.
No. There is a rather it's probably going to be huge when it appears. Yeah, okay. You can see a rather... Oh, I dropped on the gym there. You can see a rather plump merchant. He has a face that looks like it's inclined to amiability, but he's sitting there looking quite depressed at the moment, which is not surprising given your predicament. But in fact, before we get here and we talk about what happens next, let's rewind a little bit. I'm going to say that at the time you were captured, each one of you, for whatever reason, had time to hide one item from your captives. Something small, maybe a few coins, maybe some sort of treasure, maybe something of value to you. Nothing as big as a dagger, maybe a very small knife, but whatever it is, it's something small, easily hidden that you're able to hide about your clothing somewhere. So could each of you tell me what you would have hidden?
I guess we can go from left to right. I would have hidden the dice. That's an easy choice for me.
Yep.
And I will hide them in clothing.
Okay, yeah.
Not the Christopher Walken.
Prison.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Dalrend,
So
what did you hide?
Dalren did not come with much possessions, being a captive for some time. Like previously mentioned, he had a loincloth and a good Greek-style kind of chitin, and that was about it. So maybe while he was inside the ship or along the travel, he saw maybe a gold ring or a trinket of some kind, maybe worth a little something, but he grabbed it and stored it, wherever it was unlikely to be searched or patted down, wherever that might be. And,
So you actually found one on the bodies of a drowned sailor, or actually he'd been a bit chewed on by the dragon, so it was half the body of a drowned sailor. But he obviously didn't need it anymore. These guys have been quite happy to see you carried off into slavery, so you didn't really feel you owed them anything. And it's probably worth about 20 gold. Chances are you could sell it for about half that.
Sounds good. 20 steel.
20 steel, sorry. Thank you.
I'll put that down. Trinket, you said 20 steel in value.
20 steel, yeah.
Alrighty.
Kind of face value at least. And Aesh?
Ash also didn't have much. The lady who kind of got him into this whole mess before, she also took away all his last worldly possessions.
Yeah.
Biggest of which was his.
That's her cut.
Yeah. But the biggest of which was Ash's prized possession, which was a reed flute that he had brought with him. And he does miss it very dearly, of all his things. But when he was in the village, he kind of saw a few kids playing with this. It's almost it's like a mouth organ, but not really. If you take like bamboo sticks of different lengths and just kind of stick them together, it looks like a xylophone
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So he found a small one, a kid's version that has a few notes that he could play, and he kind of borrowed it from them. And just as he was like getting the hang of it and playing a few notes, that's when calamity befell again, and he hides it amongst his clothing as well.
Excellent. Okay. One other incident I'll mention doesn't seem to directly affect you, but it seems to affect something happening in the other wagon. There is a stop along the way. You see the caravan come to a halt. The hobgoblins don't really seem to, there are some figures right out of trees to the south of you. Actually, you won't remember. Trees to the right of you, and you see two figures, two main figures, and then a group of others. So both these figures are wearing armor, a little bit like this armor here. Anyone who wants can make a history check. Anything 8 or higher, I'll give you some information. Darius, you feel it's at the tip of your tongue. You think you know what these guys are, and you can't place it. You're just like, oh yes, go on. That means that Dalrend and Aesh, you both know very well what they are. They are Knights of Naraka. They're led by this guy here, and his second in command, although he's wearing the same armor decorated with the same symbols, his is leather, and he wears a grey cloak over the top. These guys are sworn servants of the gods of darkness. In fact, Dalrend, you know specifically they are sworn servants of the god Sarganas, god of vengeance, and kind of god of violence, really. The Minotaurs arguably worship the same god, but they insist that their god Sargas is actually different, and it's just a similar name. But yeah, these guys ride up. And Dalren, you also know that for your roll of 15, you know that this guy in the grey cloak could possibly be the most dangerous of all, because he is a Knight of the Thorn, which means he's a sorcerer. He'll be, to some extent, skilled with the sword, but much more skilled with magic. And they actually train them as sort of battle mages. So he is kind of this leader's shadow as they approach the other wagon. The Draconians go, and you can't see much of what's going on. The other wagon's a little bit of a way away. The Draconians lay something out, and he indicates one of the two sort of lesser knights with them to take some stuff from the pile. There seems to be, some armor and a sword that they take from there. And then he stops to say something to captives in the other wagon. And then some money changes hands with the draconian. The leader doesn't pay them; one of the other knights does, and then they ride off. You're not quite sure what all that was about, but they seem to have bought something from the draconians. The hobgoblins basically took very little interest in the whole matter. They sort of remained a little bit aloof, and they and the knights glared at each other a little bit, but there was no open hostility.
As Dalran witnesses, he kind of looks over to Darius and Aishan and quietly says, "Listen, those there, Knights of Naraka, not to be trifled with, especially that one." He kind of nods his head to the one in gray. "If they come over here, keep your mouth shut. Do not say anything to anger them. Do you understand me?"
Of course.
Yes.
I mean,
And he looks at Darius especially like, "Yeah, I know you. Keep your fucking mouth
elf
shut."
a few words. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Normally I wouldn't care. But if you know them, then you know they're not to be trifled with.
I know they're not to...
And then as they kind of ride off, he's like,
Yeah, I think Darius would
Yeah.
keep mum.
Okay, Darius, don't forget, by the way, that ever since you carried off your masterful deception act that fooled even a dragon, you've been feeling strangely tired.
Yeah, he's...
But you also have an idea of how to fix that tiredness. You don't know how you know, but there's firm knowledge planted in your head.
How's that?
I'll let you kind of read that offline for a second. Aesh, you have slowly. It's been a couple of days. Well, it's actually been a few days now, and you slowly healed back. So everyone's actually back to full hit points now. You recovered consciousness before you got to the village, but were very weak, and then awakened to find yourself captive once more. One thing that has happened, though, and that I'd like to cover now, is that you've been sitting in this wagon, the three of you, and this guy here, who looks like some kind of merchant, and he actually introduces himself, and it will give you a chance to do the same. Let me find this. He tells you that his name is Aiden Deepwell, and he says, "I'm Aiden. I'm from Lemish, a little way to the south of here. Farming family." And he sort of rubs a hand through his thinning hair, and he looks like he's trying to smile despite everything that's going on, and says, "Well, I've been trying to make my way as a merchant, but doesn't seem to be going that well." And looks across at you.
I was going to say Dalren kind of snorts. "Huh. Would have never guessed based on where you're sitting right now, friend."
And he sort of smiles a little uncertainly.
Huh. That is the story of our lives so far. We seem to be finding ourselves jumping from one fire to the other, always behind bars and in chains.
And he sort of looks around and says, "So that's me. What about you three? Seems you've got plenty of time to talk." And he sort of again smiles a little uncertainly. And you realise that you haven't really you kind of mentioned names, but you three don't really know much about each other, with one possible exception.
Dalren kind of goes first because I I'm Dalrend. I hail from the eastern shores of Ishtar. Most of my he kind of pauses. Kin. I was exiled from my clan. Now I am here. A slave, apparently.
Aiden sort of nods and says, I suppose we all are. Gonna take a bit of getting used to, I suppose. And he kind of looks out and says, but perhaps if the four of us stick together, we'll be all right. And what about you, friend? And he looks across at Darius. And by the way, I got it wrong. Darius is not strangely exhausted. He recovered the same as everyone else.
No, I'll roleplay being exhausted because this sounds pretty exhausting to me. Out of the frying pan into the fire, as they say, as a good professor says. Yeah. Darius is kind of sprawled out in his manacles in the carriage, and as they go over every single little bump in this ruddy, awful, poorly upkept road, his old wounds in his back just open up. Half drowned, starved, in the company of an overgrown cow and an overly inquisitive man with... He looks at the hands of the of this guy with him. My name is Darius Darkhand. I suppose there's no use in fibbing at this point. I'm a half-elf, and he gives a location of a village that's surely a lie. And he says that he was about ready to make my pristine escape and live a life of ease and luxury, with many buxom women at my beck and call, but alas, my ship was attacked by a dragon, and now I am here. But I agree the four of us should stick together. Four are better than one, and I dare say the four of us could outsmart these odorous hobgoblins.
You do notice, however, there are quite a lot of the hobgoblins, which could be a problem. Okay, and Darius, can you make an insight check, please? Oh, actually, no, you don't. No, you're not making an insight check. I'm just using your passive insight. Okay, don't worry. Darius, Ayesh, what are you saying? 'Cause Adam turns to you and says, "A new friend, you appear to be, well, not from round here. And from a little further afield than me, I suspect."
Yes. This little wagon, these chains, do not become me. It is unfortunate that you meet Aish, that's my name, in such circumstances. Most often when people meet me, it's to song and dance and ale, music. But here we are with the sound of chains. I come from the Isles where the dragons live.
From the dragon, I thought they were mythological. Just stories. He looks quite excited.
Yes, there are stories on my island, for we have not seen dragons in a long time. We have many a song about them, many a joke about them. But until a few days ago, even I thought they were a myth. But no, they are no longer that. They fly amongst us. They hunt us. That's what happened. We thought we caught a lucky break. But it was not to be. It seems that the people of this land are desperate and without honor, untrustworthy. woman sold me in a market, and then a villager sold me in a village. And it seems to me that I keep being sold. Maybe one day I could do some of the buying. Mind you, not about people, but maybe riches, a house, a woman. Who knows if I live that long?
Adden says, well, my goals were much the same. My dreams. I thought I could trade some goods, buy some more, trade some more, get a little shop. And that's why I came here to Nightland. And that's the first you've heard that you're actually in Nightland. On one hand, it makes sense that you're why these lands you've been traveling through have been just so deserted. You must be on the outskirts of the land because you've been following the river. But on one hand, it doesn't look too scary, really. But on the other hand, you realize, there's little hope for any help here. You've been traveling mainly at night. There have been some portions of the day you've been traveling through sort of areas where there are trees to be up to both sides, which is what's happening at the moment. So where they feel a little bit more secluded, but mostly at night. And you've also heard incidents in the night as well. The guards fighting something, but you haven't really seen what it was. But you do know this is a large, well-armed group, and hasn't seemed to be under serious threat from whatever is out there. Okay, unless there's anything else, we will skip to that night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, it's night time and the caravan is just starting to get rolling again. The hobgoblins kind of get and the few humans and draconians kind of get all their gear together, kind of get the horses moving. They don't much care what you do in the carts, and they just start getting things moving. When all of a sudden, one of the guards gives a sort of like staccato gasp and just pitches forward on his face, and you see an arrow in his back. Within seconds, the scene changes as figures emerge from the trees. They are cloaked, hooded, wearing greens and browns that mingle well with the terrain. And immediately the guards react. There are shouts of alarm, and they start to grab weapons and rush to attack rush to face these attackers. You're not sure who the attackers are, but anyone attacking this caravan is surely good news for you. And in the confusion of the first few seconds of the attack, I'm going to go over to this screen here.
We'll take them all. Take them all out.
Yeah. If you zoom right out, you'll see that you're in this first caravan here. And there's a lot of them around. But they've kind of spread out a little bit. There are several of these attackers. So if you look at the figures in blue, these are some of the attackers. And we're going to start at a point maybe about a minute into the combat when it's kind of devolved into a series of like single combats almost. And suddenly from the trees to the right of the path, out of the mist that sprung up this night, I should have mentioned that most of the nights here are misty. Like an unusual number of nights here are misty. Out of the mist to the right of the path comes running this woman here. She's a lady with shoulder-length blonde hair, and she's wearing leather armor. She rushes up to the hobgoblin that's guarding the back of your wagon, swiftly dispatches him, grabs keys off his belt, and unlocks the back of the wagon for you. She looks inside at the four of you and says, "Well, what are you waiting for? You're free. Courtesy of the Order of Steel. Says, please, go, run." And then she turns and rushes off to join her friends facing the others. What are you going to do? In fact, let's roll initiative before we do anything else. Okay. So we'll go in this order. I'm just gonna turn the music down slightly. Just find it a little loud.
What's up with the decimal points? It's weird.
That is an option where you can add your dexterity score. So rather than being 18.13, that's 18.13. So it's an initiative of 18 and a dexterity of 13, because there's an optional rule of using dexterity to break ties in initiative. Okay, so let me bring up, and they've changed the interface here. Okay, here we go. Turn order. So I'm going to sort. Okay, so you've seen all of this happen, and this woman just kills this hobgoblin and rushes up to the back, unlocks it, says, "You're free," and then rushes off to join the fight. What are you going to do, Dalrend?
Dalrend is immediately going to jump out and pick up the weapons of the hobgoblin she had dispatched that had the keys, and arm himself.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're doing that this round? Okay. I'll tell you what those are in a second. Darius.
Yeah, he would exit the back of the wagon as well and look around. Are there any other bodies around that he could arm himself with a weapon or bow?
Not immediately, but the hobgoblin has both a sword and a dagger.
Well, he'll grab the dagger if the minotaur is grabbing the sword.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably be his move and his action.
So yeah, he's got a long sword, a long bow, and some arrows, and he has a dagger as well.
I'll get the bow. Get the bow and arrows.
Yep. Okay. And then Ash.
What is a dex-based weapon in this? This
Dagger would be a dex-based weapon. The other longbow would be as well, but dagger would, longsword wouldn't.
Dagger would and dagger would, but not longsword. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll pick if there's a dagger, I'll pick the dagger.
Okay. And you can all move yourself to somewhere within a few squares of the back of the wagon and show where.
Wait, is there only one longbow?
Yes.
And I'm assuming Darius has taken
If you want the longbow, I'll take the dagger.
Darius took it.
Yeah. Longbow is just to be sure.
That was a mistake.
It's only dex, right? Do we need special skills for longbow?
No. Well, you might. Well, it depends whether you've got proficiency with it. So Darius, for example, is not proficient with the longbow, so you don't get your proficiency bonus. But that just means you don't get that +2 proficiency. You just get your dex.
I'll take the dagger.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Then I'll take the longbow.
Okay.
That way, because I'm very squishy, so I'm going to just stay back.
Yeah. So again, I don't think you'd get proficiency in it, so you don't get.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. You can double check, but I don't think it.
I doubt. Like he's a bard. It's not.
Yeah,
just
mine
checking
is
here.
crossbow, hand, longbow.
Simple weapons.
Yeah, I
No.
don't have proficiency with longbow.
Yeah. No. I've just checked and you don't. So yeah. Okay.
So, do you want me to pull the weapon into the sheet, or what do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, you could. If it depends, you might be keeping it for a while, so you could. In which case, yeah, a longbow.
I'll just pull it into the sheet, and I can just roll it from the sheet, right? Yeah, that's fine.
That's so nice and
Okay.
easy to be able to do that.
Okay, so when I pulled it, it automatically said proficient. You want me to just uncheck it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Quick question, as I was just manually entering a longsword stat. It says type slash and crit 1d6. Is that correct, or is it actually double the damage?
No. It would be it'll be double. So it'll be another
Alright,
D8.
so another d8. All right, perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, sorry. Was that for me? Attack +3 to hit.
No, don't worry about that. I was pulling the stats from somewhere else, and I pulled in the creatures plus to hit by accident.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure you could see range or anything. That was before you said you could just drag it from the sheet. So Arden is going to be here. Aesh, where are you going to be?
Here.
Yeah,
Here.
I'm gonna be yeah, kind of far away. Like maybe
Okay, you can't get that far yet.
yeah.
So you can say be here. You can be about here.
Yeah. Okay. Here, that I'll be there where I can at
Okay.
least see some people, right? Yeah.
Yep. Right, and I'm going to roll initiative for a couple of them now. So you've had that kind of round of being able to act before anyone sees you. But I'm going to... So this hobgoblin here has seen you, and this draconian over here is also just they both dispatched the people they were fighting, and they're kind of looking around for their next opponent and see you guys. So he as well. I'm going to roll initiative for him. Okay. So the next round. Okay. The draconian starts heading in your direction. Let's see.
Wait, whose direction? Not mine, right?
2, 3, 4, 5. No, he's heading towards the back of the...
This is fun being a player, not have to worry about anything.
1, 2, 3. And he arrives here next to Arden and slashes at him twice with a short sword. And Arden actually proves quite nimble for a chunkier fella, and avoids both of them. He kind of leaps out of the way, and then he kind of scrambles back into the back of the cart, and he's trying to like hide behind the door and get the door between him and the draconian. The draconian's now gone. Dalrend.
Dalrend is going to step forward and attack with the longsword that he picked up.
Okay.
Let me move my guy. And we'll see if this attack works.
Okay. No, it doesn't.
Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to use Lucky
Hey.
and swing again. This is one of my 3 luck points.
15 does hit. Yeah, you cut through his... he's got a mix of... He's got some kind of scaly armor and some actual scales underneath. But you cut through both. You can roll for damage. I think you should just be able to hit that on there.
Yep,
okay.
And it looks like it worked.
10
Yep.
points damage. Yeah, excellent. Okay. You cut him pretty deeply and he yells in pain. And you think actually this is the same draconian that slapped Aesh across the face in this ship. They don't look a lot different, but yeah, this one he's got a couple of funny kind of wonky teeth. And it just makes him look just that slight little bit distinct, and you think, yeah, you're the other bastard that did
Yeah,
that.
Dalren's got not so tough when you're fighting someone with a weapon.
And he goes, I'll have you, Minotaur. I'll have you. And anything else from you?
I believe that's probably all I can do.
Yep. Okay, Darius.
Darius is going to move. Are you doing the flanking rules or no? No. Okay.
No.
So he's going to move next to this competent appearing blonde woman here.
Okay.
And he's going to do his cantrip. Frostbite on this guy here.
Okay. As you approach, he kind of looks round and in surprise and almost strikes at you as you appear from behind her, and then notices it's you and nods.
Don't worry,
Okay.
love.
Now, Frostbite, is that an...
It's me, Darius Darkhand. And he...
She doesn't
he
appear
has
hugely impressed.
the dagger in his left hand, and he like kind of puts his right hand back, and a jet of ice streaks towards this guy. And if he hits and fails his check, he'll get disadvantage, I think, on attacks against him. So that's good. So let me see if I can do this correctly. So Frostbite. Let me see if it rolls. No, that's just the damage that rolled, right? Does the whole thing roll?
Yeah. No, they need to make... okay, so he needs to make a DC 13 Constitution save. And if he fails, he'll take that damage. So let me just double check. Frostbite. Okay, so range 60 feet. Yeah, easily got that. He caused numbing frost. Yeah, so he needs to make that Constitution saving throw. And if he fails, he takes 1d6 cold, which will be that 4 damage, and has disadvantage on his next weapon attack within the next turn. So he is going to make that save. Yes, he does. Unfortunately, he's pretty tough. Not kind of Minotaur tough, but pretty tough.
+1.
And he manages to kind of shrug this off. You see him kind of frosting over. He just seems to like his skin frosts over a little bit, and then he kind of shakes himself and roars and seems to throw off the effect. Anything else from Darius?
I don't have my cunning actions, I don't think, until level 2s. I don't think so.
Not until level 2. Yeah. Okay. Ayesh. You also recognize this draconian. That's the one who hit you.
But from where I'm standing, can I hit with my bow without hitting the minotaur?
You can, but it will be even easier from over here.
Yeah. From where? Over here?
Yeah, there, or even here.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Or here, anywhere, just so you can get slightly further over. I think that's...
Okay. I'll just move here so I can see some of these guys.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Doo-doo-doo. Woo!
Yeah, boy.
Wow.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, you hit him center torso with the bow, with the arrow rather.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Very nice.
Son.
And it's very satisfying for you as you see he looks as close to death as you did after he'd hit you. Not that you saw what you looked like.
Yeah,
The
can I
others
say
told
that
you.
I sent the arrow into his jaw like he broke my jaw?
Yes. Nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
So as you know, this fighting breaks out and he he first runs away from the cart, right? He picks up a bow and he runs away, and then he realizes what he thinks everybody's with him as he's running away. Then he turns around and he sees the Minotaur is engaging someone. Darius has gone all the way into the fight, and then he sees, oh, there's a beautiful woman, and Darius is already like playing the game, and he realizes like, oh shit, what is he doing, right? So he turns around, kind of flanks these guys, and then he sees this little shithead, scaly shithead, and he smiles to himself and sends an arrow, like, and he's just aiming in his general direction, but then Ash gets extremely pleased when the arrow goes and lodges itself into his jaw, and that's for breaking my jaw.
Yeah, the arrow lodged into his jaw and further in. It seems to have gone right through to the back of his throat, and he's slightly choking on his own blood as he's trying to dislodge it, but he can't really spend the time to dislodge it properly because he's fighting Dalrend. And very nicely done. Anything else from Ash?
No, that's it.
Okay. This hobgoblin here sees Darius kind of move clear of the rest and runs over to him, kind of strides over to him, really. He doesn't need to run, and attacks with his longsword.
Wow, that can hit hard. That hits.
Okay, so you take 6 points of slashing damage. Strides over to you confidently and feints once with the sword, gets your sword out of line, and then just slashes you across the torso.
Are we healed from before, or we still have the damage?
You are healed from before. Yeah, you're on maximum hit points. Yeah. You know, narratively, your back wounds have reopened, but you haven't taken any damage from that. Okay, and that's him. He just snarls at you. You're gonna die out here, slave. You're doing better staying in that carriage. Next, back to the Draconian. He... Okay. I'm going to make a roll for him. Let me try something here. Okay. He actually starts retreating. He realizes he's in a bad way, so he disengages from you. He spends his action to disengage. So he makes a fighting withdrawal from you, moves back here, and then he just runs off into the mist. Okay, let me... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Yeah,
that's right. Run away.
Right off there, but it's difficult for you guys to see him. Oh no, he's the action to disengage. Sorry, so he can't dash. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, he's a bit more visible there, right? This around here is when the mist starts to get really thick. That's kind of the visibility. Okay, Dalrend.
So just to ensure I can do this, I'm looking at my race ability. I can do something called a goring rush. So I can dash, which means I can catch up to him.
Yep.
And then as a bonus action, attack with my horns.
You can
gore him.
Which is exactly what I'm going to do.
Bass.
So what do I need? What should I roll for that? Should I just manually roll 1d20 plus my proficiency
plus
or what?
Yeah, plus strength and proficiency. So yeah, if you've got a weapon, yeah, I'd say just roll your longsword actually, because it's going to be the same.
I was going to say it should be, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then the damage should be
1d10 plus whatever, 3
nice.
I guess for my strength. So let's
Yep.
just roll longsword. Well, that's a hit.
Oh, that's a hit. Very
And then
much
it's
so.
1d10 plus 3.
Yeah.
Yes. First blood.
Nice.
Nice.
Describe
blood
what it
achievement-
looks like as you
Achievement unlocked.
kill this guy.
So maybe the camera is facing the Draconian as he's running away, and you kind of see in the background it's almost blurred out, like this big shape like charging towards him. Then he kind of goes into slow motion as 2 horns like pierce through his torso out towards the camera, and he kind of does that slow motion like, "Bleh," and Dalran kind of lifts up and shakes his head, shaking him off before stomping down on him and kind of roaring out with his sword turning back to the melee.
Very nice. As you stomp on him, you realize his body seems strangely kind of like solid, like hard and unyielding. And looking down, you realize something weird is happening to him. He's turning to stone. And as he does so, there appears to be some kind of gas or vapor coming off him as he turns to stone. It's almost like it's getting released as this happens after death. Could you please make a DC 11 Constitution saving throw?
Alrighty. This should be my save.
Yo, yes.
Oh, yeah. As the gas reaches you, you realize in horror that your skin is starting to turn grey and it's getting difficult to move. But with a roar, you kind of manage to kind of shake off the effect, and you kind of explosively flex, and it seems to throw everything off. But you have a distinct feeling that you are starting to turn to stone yourself.
Dalran kind of shouts out, "Stay clear of the draconians." I don't know why that +4 was on there, by the way. I took that off.
Oh, okay. That was...
Yeah,
that's
for some reason it had, bless on
Bless.
check, so I unchecked
bless
that.
my
It still,
child.
I'm assuming, made it at 16.
No, that's right. 16. No, 16 plus 4, because I think you do get +4 on your save anyway. So this would have been 24, but you still got 20.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you're still absolutely fine. And 16 would have done it anyway.
Alrighty.
Dari, anything else from Dalrend?
That, I would imagine, is it. The
Yeah.
gore plus the dash should be it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you've got anything else for... Oh, that was probably a bonus action, wasn't it? Yeah.
That is, Gore is the
Yeah.
bonus action.
You've used everything then. Yeah, Darius.
So, narratively, tell me if I'm able to do this mechanically. So, I'm in between this woman and this hobgoblin. And Darius ain't but wanting none of that. Ain't nobody got time for that. And he's kind of in the woods now, so he wants to disappear. He wants to hide in the woods and do stealth and just get away and just circle around to the back of this guy. So a stealth check first to hide, and then my movement.
It's going to be a disadvantage.
Totally
I'm not sure you really can even hide. I'm trying to think, is there any reasonable way he could lose sight of you when he's standing next to you?
The only reason I would say
I
narratively
honestly
is
can't
because the
see
woman's
how he
behind me, and I want them two to fight, and I got into the tree line.
Right. You could step aside here and kind of get some of the
I
branches
just care about
between
going
you.
stealth. That's all I care about. I don't even care about the movement.
Yeah. I've got to say, I don't think you can really be completely hidden from him, but you can make her a more obvious target
Right.
for him.
I would like to do that.
Yeah, and then if you make your hide check, it's not that you're actually hidden, it's just that you make yourself a less appealing target. Like you're partly obscured by branches, let's say.
This is a disadvantage. So I want to know how to do this on this sheet here.
It won't be a disadvantage, yeah. So you'll just do a normal
Okay.
check, because I was thinking you could actually try and truly hide, but I don't think you can. So, yeah, this is just to make you a less appealing target, not to actually be hidden.
As much as I like you, sister. If it's you or me, it's you. This is how he rolls. There you go.
Oh yeah. So you managed to. You're kind of like dodging and keeping branches between you, and he kind of hisses in frustration and sort of says to you, "What kind of coward are you? You've even got a weapon in your
The type
hands."
of coward that you can't quite see in this mist, and the type of coward that's going to stick this dagger up your ass as soon as you engage my dear lady over there. From the dark years,
she sort
I
of
guess.
turns around seeing all this. Yeah, and she sort of looks around and just goes, "Seriously? Fine." and steps up to engage the hobgoblin. Ash, you could shoot this hobgoblin in the back from where you are.
Oh yeah. So Ash kind of stands there and kind of shouts, "Let me come to your aid, my lady!" And he's gonna shoot an arrow at that same hobgoblin.
We all know they like the bad boys, not the white knights.
Oh, very nice. No. You actually, he's wearing mail and a shield. And your arrow hits him squarely in the back. But seems to just kind of pings off a plate in his armor and deflects off to the side. And you know it was a good shot. You're quite flabbergasted, but yeah, he's got solid chainmail and is carrying a shield as well. Okay. Hobgoblin, he attacks her. Oh yeah, he hits. I haven't got a health bar shown, but she only takes a small wound. And she's not in the turn order, so I'll have her go after him. 14, no. He manages to parry her attack. And you do see he partly parries it, but she also kind of runs her blade along past his guard and actually hits him in the shoulder, but his armor takes it. And she hisses in frustration. Draconian is gone. Okay, next Darrend.
All right. So I can do a move and attack, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to do one more thing before that, which is that this other hobgoblin over here is entering. Oh, so yeah, he's going to be at the end of this round. He's attacking. But Aesh, you think he's seen you, and he's heading in your direction.
Which hobgoblin? Or the one you just pinged over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Over here.
Hobgoblins.
Yeah, Dalren's just as there's all this one-on-one combat. Now that he's killed the Draconian, he's just going to move his way down the combat line, trying to assist these attackers from the knight.
Yep. Okay, you can attack that guy.
Is that a hit?
That is not a hit, no. So yeah, he kind of partly parries your blow and partly takes it on his shield. But yeah, it seems he didn't even get close to harming him.
Alrighty.
Okay, Darius.
Darius is going to... I can't do sneak attack, I don't think, because I'm not completely hidden, but... not to be a complete coward, he's going to try to shiv this hobgoblin here.
I think, though... just having a quick look here before I go any further. Sneak attack, I'm just going to double check, because I think... Yeah, you don't need advantage on the attack roll. If another enemy of the target is within 5 feet of it, the enemy isn't incapacitated, and you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. So because she's close by, you've got sneak attack.
Alright, actions. So I do the dagger first, and then do the sneak attack damage.
Yeah. If you hit, yeah. Because he's wearing this heavy armor.
Yeah. Oh no, I rolled the damage, didn't I? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You're getting overexcited.
Ah.
Dagger, no! Oh, it's bad luck to roll the damage first, obviously. Yeah, you kind of stab at him. So you and Dalrend and Aesh have all come to the realization that actually these hobgoblins are fairly formidable, and you're starting to wonder whether actually it might be better to just run. Darius, Ash. Ash, what are you doing? You can see this guy's heading in your direction as well.
Oh, he sees two hobgoblins running towards him, and this hobgoblin is really not getting affected. He shouts out to Dalrend and Darius, "Time to leave, boys! We seem to be outmatched. We are free."
And this woman here actually looks across at you, Darius, and says, "It's fine. Go. You're not armored. And it looks like you're using weapons you've just taken off the body. Just go. We'll deal with this."
That's of course the reason, my lady. We shall be gone.
Then I start sprinting in the opposite direction of whoever is coming towards him.
Okay.
Low-key battle has stopped the music.
I still hear music.
I don't hear music either.
Now just
Oh, no?
just like roll 20.
No.
Let me refresh.
That's weird. I have it. I'll restart it. See if that
It's
helps.
usually the user end. If they have to restart they have to refresh their browser.
There you go.
Yeah,
Now
now I can hear it.
Yep, same. Yep.
You better now?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. In fact, I'm going to switch to this one. Okay, hopefully. Right. Okay. So, Ash, what are you doing? You've yelled that out.
Yeah, I'm just running.
Okay.
I'm running this way.
Okay.
Sprinting, so my
Dash.
Yeah, double move.
double
Yep.
move from dash, which is 30, so 60 feet.
Yes.
Gone.
So yeah, I'm off the map. I'm Egon, all the way here.
Okay,
out.
excellent. And you're obscured by the mist as well, so he's going to have a real job seeing you there.
Peace.
This one here, he's attacking the woman, so I don't think that's going to make much difference to you, Darius, so I won't bother with that. This guy here, I'm going to make a perception check for him and see if he's able to see you, Ash. So it's going to be DC 16 from where he is. And does he have... No, he cannot see you. So he actually starts heading over in this direction and fighting this guy. Okay, it's a pretty hard fought battle from what you can see. You can also see over here, Ash, as you looked over in that direction, you could see some other people over here in this wagon had also been freed. And they are kind of fighting their way to freedom as well, but they're heading off in another direction to you guys. So there's 4 of them, and you can see the person that freed them is there, and she appears to be using spells. Right, next, Dalrend, what are you going to do?
Now, can I disengage from this guy, or can I just
Yep.
sprint away?
You can use your action to disengage. So you can either just sprint away and take an attack of opportunity and get more movement, or you can use your action to disengage and then just move normally.
Quick question. So our plump friend is back in the wagon. Is the guy that's on the front of the coach fighting, or is that just some random yokel that's
That's a random
on the ring?
guy. Yeah. He has actually. I should have moved him. He's actually run for it.
All right, in that case, I'm going to spend my action to disengage.
He's run right off.
Yep, and then with my remaining movement,
This guy, by the way, is running after Ash.
yeah, he's running. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to get behind the reins and gallop off in it, but instead,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, you can do that actually. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
if you yell out to him not to go, he'll stay there.
stay there. You're slower. And then he kind of jumps into the back of into the front of the coach and grabs the reins and just fucking snaps them and
Okay, roll animal handling. It's only DC 5.
I'm
Just
sure
don't
this will go fine.
massively mess it up.
Oh, actually, you know what? Check that. I'm gonna hold that until Darius. I forgot about Darius. Sorry. He goes,
Oh yeah.
Darius, get in.
Okay.
And this guy here, Arden, is holding the door open for you at the back.
Yeah, he would use his action to disengage, then move, and if he needs to do acrobatics, jump on, he will. If it's open and easy, he'll just roll on.
It's open and
Just
easy at
roll
the
onto
moment.
The cart.
Nice. Okay, you're going to take an attack of opportunity as you go. Oh no, did you say you disengaged?
No, yeah, I did say that. I said that.
Okay. Right. Okay, so you disengage and you get into the cart. Yeah, it's no problem. It's not really moving yet. Okay. Make your animal handling roll.
All right.
Elrond. We'll drop out of rounds now because there's no one coming for you at the moment.
By the skin of my teeth.
Yes. Yep. It's fine. You whip the horses up, and Aesh, you see them sort of head off in presumably this direction, and you can run and try and catch up with them as you go if you like, because as they go across here, you can kind of just cut them off. You can kind of just go.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
That direction.
Yeah.
Okay. So do that, and then I'd like you to make a an acrobatics check, DC 8, to get onto the moving wagon. There are steps at the back, and you can kind of make your way. You can kind of make a leap onto that.
Acrobatics, you said, right?
Can I
Yes.
like lean out a hand and help him? Oh, I guess I don't need to.
No, don't even need to. Yeah, you're thinking of doing that, and you go to lean out, but just before you do, he leaps on gracefully, swings himself in, and kind of plonks himself down.
Yeah, I kind of jump on the step, leap into the back, arms kind of wide open, turn around, and he looks at the hobgoblins and kind of gives them a flourish bow. Till we meet again. Remember the name Aish.
And you start making your way along this path, and you go for a fair way along the path, and then you notice there's another path leading off it, going northwards. And looking down there as you approach it, you can see some lights, as if there's some kind of settlement a few miles away in that direction, maybe a mile or two away.
As he's kind of going with the horse, he kind of looks back. He goes, possible settlement down the way. What do you guys think?
And you only see it for a moment because the mist is so heavy, but the mist just kind of part for a second and you see it.
Well, we've got to get somewhere. Lay low for a while. This hamlet will do as good as anything else, and this mist will obscure our way there.
Very well.
Okay. And you start making your way there, and the night wears on as you're heading in that direction. It seems to be further away than you thought, and it's taking a while to get there. Maybe it was just a mile or two, but the ground's uneven, the horse is getting tired, and in the darkness the journey seems to stretch on forever. But eventually you do see this settlement approaching, and you see it's kind of like a fort or small castle made of wood. There's a guardhouse over the gate. Rather than just a sort of a building like this at the top of this mound in the center, there appears to be a sort of wooden single-story tower built on top of a second story of stone, a sort of kind of almost like a plinth of stone with stairs leading up it that seems to be almost a story tall, and then a second story of wooden tower on top of that. And you're starting to see that, you're seeing that maybe that's about half a mile away. And then out of the darkness, you hear a really chilling sound. It's the howling of wolves, but they sound wrong. They sound discordant. It seems almost as much a howl of pain as it is a normal wolf howl of sort of communication. And that's where we're going to leave it.
All right.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah.
2 hours 52